Hello, everybody. Welcome to a new week. Welcome to a new card of the week. I'm so happy that you're here again. I'm so happy about your feedback. I can't say this enough. This means a lot. Starting this podcast new in America is a whole new experience. It's so humbling to start something new that you already established in a different country, or maybe in a new area of your life, in another area of your life. You already established something, and then you go ahead and you take that and you go to another area or another country in my case, and you try to repeat it and you try to make it work somewhere else too. It's very humbling because if you want it or not, you are thrown back to the very beginnings, which is itself a very, very humbling experience, but teaches me so much right now about patience, resilience, and keeping that belief, keeping that faith that this will work out. So I'm very happy, and I can't say this enough for everybody who's already watching, who's already there every single week. I already have a few people that watch the video a few times a week, at least twice a week, which is the best feeling ever. So I wanted to give you back a little thank you, and yeah, a little appreciation for how happy I am that you're here. I really am. So first of all, if you already watched a few videos of mine, you know the first thing we always going to do is we look back. We look back to the last week. And the last week we had the Five of Swords. Feel very free and very invited to watch that video again. I always tell my clients, and I think I already said that in this podcast, but it is a very nice thing to look ahead, to take that card. That's our new card of the week, by the way, and to take that card and look into the upcoming days, weeks, maybe the year. And that's nice. And I love that. I always love that, and I will always love that. But it's a whole different thing if you look back. If you take the card of the week, the card of the week that we had last week, the Five of Swords, and you really take your time to reflect. Because we as humans tend to try to control events. That's why we love to take a look into the future. That's why we love to plan ahead. We love to have the feeling of control, to have some kind of power over your daily routines, all the outcomes in your life, and that's great. But to look back and have zero control over everything that already happened, but take that little card and use that story behind it, use the meaning behind it, and put it on top of your experiences and try to find some patterns, try to find maybe a new kind of meaning, a new kind of perspective. That's where it gets like really interesting for me, because like I said, you can't change the past. That's what makes it so fixed, so final. And that gives you a whole different perspective on working with the tarot cards. So get something to write, get something nice to drink. I did the same thing. I'm totally prepared. I have my candle, I have my nice light, my nice chair, my cozy clothing. Can't wait to go to the hairdresser tomorrow. I'm so ready for a haircut. But other than that, I'm super ready for this video. So I hope you are too. Let's get started. The card of the week was the Five of Swords last week, and there is so much to say about this card. And I learned that last week again, that this card is one of the deepest, for me at least, in tarot. There are so many different perspectives to look at that, to look on that card, to look at that card, and to really see yourself in so many different layers with that card that it's impressive. But I try to make it very short and try to make it very brief, so you can have like a brief reflection on your last week. The Five of Swords is a card about decisions, first of all, because it's the 5. And the 5 in Tarot always mark a turning point. It's the middle of the 10. The Tarot cards always go from Ace to 10. And then we have the court cards. And that's the whole, now I'm missing a word again. I don't think we can ever have one podcast episode where I totally miss the words and I totally don't know what I'm talking about. But like we have a row. We have the row of cups, the row of wands, the row of swords, and the row of pentacles. And the 5 is exactly the center of the 10 of cups, for example. And so we have a turning point. And reflect back on your last week. Where did you feel like, oh yeah, that's a part, that's an area in my life where I have to make a decision? And maybe you did make a decision. So be very proud of yourself, because in a week where we have a 5 card, it's very important to make a decision. And please, and that's just a little side note, but please see everything I say as an invitation and not a rule. You can see all of that however you want. That's the great thing about Tarot. We have our frame, we have our guidelines, but there is no such thing. And that's what you learn when you study all these different Tarot meanings, the interpretations from very, very talented people. You learn, yes, there's a guideline, yes, there's a meaning and a story behind it, but it's really what you make out of it. It's like speaking a language. We all sound different. I definitely sound different when I'm talking English, but I also sound different than all of my friends when I'm talking German. That's the magic about language, about expression. We all have our own way. And I want to encourage you, especially if you work with the Tarot cards for yourself, to find your own language, to make sense of it for your own. So I would say that the last week was about a radical decision connected to our mind. I told you last week the swords are connected to our mind, our thoughts. So maybe you can look back and you can find, okay, what was it where I had to make a decision? And it can be something super simple, something super small, that in the end shows you, okay, that wasn't in fact super simple and super small. That's where it was like really crucial for me to make a decision. And then all the big stuff in my life could finally evolve and get better. And sometimes it is like that in life. It's the little things. And if we change the little things, we can change the whole picture. So like I said, a decision last week, connecting to our thoughts. The 5 of Swords is also connected to distance and proximity. So ask yourself, what is that for me? Where did you distance yourself last week? And why? Why did you do that? Where were you able to get really close with people? Where were you maybe too close to people? Look what happened in your life. Where did you need last week more proximity, and where did you need more distance? And what does that tell you about your future, about your next steps, maybe? Like I said, we as humans, we love to make plans. So let's work with that. Let's take last week and let's try to end it with a result. Okay, that was my last week. That was it all about. That's where I see the connections to proximity and distance. That's where I see the connections to my brain being a total mindfuck, like blocking me, or my brain giving me new ideas, and I can trust my thoughts. I can trust my instincts. Because this week we have the 5 of Cups. And like I told you, the 5 is about making a decision. And I will tell you more about the 5 of Cups, because that's interesting. And of course, we have some similarities with the 5 of Swords, but we also have a lot of differences. So I'm very happy to talk about that soon. But if we go back to the 5 of Swords last week, we have the decision, we have the thoughts, we have distance and proximity, and we also have another big thing that I want to cover real short, so you can think about that and maybe see some patterns in your last week. It's about winning. The Five of Swords is a card that teaches us, yeah, you can win. You can be ahead of a situation. You can be on top of a person. That sounded weird. You know what I mean? But you can be on top of something and still lose. So what is important maybe for our last week is to reflect, okay, where do we feel like we are superior to somebody, to something? Where did we feel like, yeah, here I'm in total control. Here I am totally right. And what does that do for us? What does that win, that success that we maybe feel in that moment, that superiorness, I bet there's a better word for that, but in lack of the actual word, I say superiorness. What does that bring us? How is it really beneficial for us? How is it beneficial for you to be ahead of everything? How is it beneficial for you to control everything, to feel like you have control all the time? And that's exactly where I come back to my first thought I had here in this episode today. We love gaining control. That's why we love looking into the future and making plans. But here and right now, I ask you to look back on the things that you can change and really ask yourself, what does it really do for me that I'm ahead and that I'm in control? Because we all, and I really tell myself that as well all the time, we really have to learn, I think, that as soon as we're in control, we're not learning anymore. As soon as we're ahead of something or someone, we're not learning anymore so much. Learning comes from this experience of, I don't know, maybe you are right. This curiosity, you know what I mean? So the Five of Swords last week really asked us as well, what are your successes and all the areas in your life you thought you are ahead of and you are better than everyone or better than certain people? What does it really do for you? And why do you need that so much? Why do you need to be in control? Why do you need to win this? Why do you need to get better and better? And I already said that in my German podcast this morning. Look at the self-improvement bubble. Look at all the self-help books. And I was a sucker for those. I loved self-improvement, self-help. I was so into it. And I'm still kind of into it. I still enjoy reading stuff like that. I still love listening to people. I love listening to TED Talks. I love this inspirational stuff. But really, what does it do for us to constantly self-improve? And that's maybe the question. Venus in Aquarius, that's what the Five of Swords are astrologically connected to. The goddess of love, but a very distant goddess of love, a goddess of love that is above everybody else. So what is that goddess of love really about? Is it really about love? Or is it about being admired because I'm so much better than everyone else? So I'll be back. I'm so on top of everything. Does that look nice? Yes, it does. So what does it really do good for us? And isn't the goddess of love not way more better? Doesn't she feel way more better when she's really connected to somebody? So we can ask ourselves this, what are our successes really good for? And now we have the Five of Cups. That's the card of the week. Look at that. Beautifully stacked up, all of our cups. We reached the center, like the middle of our journey. We already have some experience. We know a lot of stuff, but now it's crucial that we make a decision, and we make a decision emotionally. That's what it's all about. Five of Cups, decision, dramatic turning point with your emotions. And in my book, in my German book, I wrote, these were the key words for that card: grief, regret, and also hope. And grief because it hurts to let go of something emotionally. It always does. And it doesn't even have to be something dramatic, like when your partner dies or whoever dies, your pet, or when you have to quit your job because you just can't do it anymore, or you get fired, or your best friend leaves the country, or whatever, your partner cheats on you, whatever it is, that's always, always hard. But it doesn't have to be something so dramatically. Like I said, sometimes the most important decisions we can do for ourselves are, in fact, with our little stuff. I experience that all the time. For example, if I change my eating habits, it changes a lot how I, excuse me, it changes a lot how I see myself and how I feel with myself. And it might be so small and so simple. For example, just going a little slower with the caffeine, or just not having sugar for a day or two. It already changes a lot. And it tells me a lot about my discipline, about my values, about my well-being. Because, for example, I'm a stress eater. I know when I keep eating like crazy, I'm stressed out. I know it. That's my coping mechanism. And we don't even have to talk about, is that healthy? Should I have maybe a different coping mechanism? That's not what I'm talking about right now, but you know what I mean. It's like small things can change so much, and the small things we do every day can tell us so much about who we are right now and where we are right now. So, like I said, this emotional grief, this emotional loss, this regret you maybe feel, and we all have regret, I would say, don't we? I think so. I think we all have regrets, and that's so important to acknowledge that and to accept that and to really feel that, to know, okay, that's what I want to change. And this card is a lot about change. Like I said, a dramatic turning point. You might be in the middle of something, in the middle of a relationship, in the middle of a working situation. You already worked your ass off. You already did so much to achieve something in that area. You did everything you could. And now it's maybe time to make a change or to make a decision, to really look at all the things that happened, to really look at all the things that you're feeling right now, in a relationship, in a work situation, whatever it is, with your health, and make a decision. And maybe a drastically one, because your path can only really evolve and can really change if you make a change. And it sounds so obvious and it sounds so simple, but it's not. It's in fact not. And I know that from my own experience, I can tell you. So the Five of Cups really is a card about letting go. Letting go. Just think of the things that you're fighting right now, that you're fighting the most, the things that you wake up every morning for and you tell yourself, okay, that's what I'm working on. And that's what I'm working on. And I work for this and I work for that. And most of us do. I mean, there are some people, and I adore these people, who wake up in the morning and they just live. Let's see what the day brings. And I adore these people. I can tell that for example, I looked for that kind of people in the past a lot, because I don't have that at all. I'm really I'm an anxious little ball. I jump around and I do this and I do this and I worry about this and I worry about this. And so maybe ask yourself this week, what am I fighting for? What am I fighting for that is maybe already gone? Because it's, like I said, a card about grief. So something is already lost. But maybe we have problems with acknowledging that. What is it in your life? What is lost? And as stupid as it might sound, to me, it doesn't sound stupid at all, but sometimes I get funny reactions when I say stuff like that. You could throw a little grief party for that thing, for that human being you grieve, for that job situation you still grieve, for your parents who never really loved you like you wanted to be loved, whatever it is. But maybe it's time for a little grief party. And I mean that's a great thing. I did a grief party once with one of my old friends, and it was a great grief party. I can tell you, people should have that way more often. Just like they should have divorce parties. Why don't people invite people for their divorce? I think I might do that. Honestly, why not celebrate the stuff that you lost on the way also? And that's what this card is about. Grief, regret, and hope. Because there's so much hope. There's so much new possibilities as soon as we let go. And that sounds so cheesy. It sounds so cheesy. And I kind of hate myself saying that. I kind of hate myself saying that. But it's true. As soon as you let go of the shit that's constantly blocking you, worrying you, doing something bad to you, as soon as you let go and you just make a choice. No, I'm not going to do that anymore because I might die tomorrow. And maybe you are grieving the stuff that you didn't experience, like the lightheartedness, for example, that comes with letting go easily, friendships, partners, possibilities, options, youth. We're getting older every single day. Maybe you're grieving your youth. Maybe you spend it with worrying about your parents too much, or worrying about your siblings, worrying about your career, your studies, whatever. And maybe you're grieving that right now because you got older and you feel like, I wish I'd done something else with my life. I have so many clients in my sessions who tell me that. So this week, let's have a little grief party. Let's appreciate the stuff that we didn't achieve. Let's appreciate the stuff that we failed. And just try to be okay with it. It's not that bad, really. You're missing so many things right now, and I'm really telling this myself as well, while you're still grieving that old shit. And grief is important. Grief is so important. But to really grieve, to really sit there, throw yourself a pity party if you need that. Grieve, cry, dance it out, whatever. And then see what's there. Make a choice, take responsibility, and see what's there. Because it's the 5 of Cups, not the 10 of Cups. We're not there yet. We're in the middle of something. So see in your life right now, where am I really just in the middle of something? I'm not done. Hell no, I'm in the middle of something. So go ahead and be in the middle of something. That's what this week is about. Be in the middle of something, grieve your losses, grieve your failures, grieve that you're just a normal human being that has all the flaws and all the shortcomings, just like everybody else, and keep on moving. And I'll do the same. I tell you every single thing I tell you here in this podcast, I also tell myself. I'm not better at all. And sometimes, honestly, I sit with my clients and I feel like, how am I so honored and so lucky to tell you what to do with your life? You have no idea who you're talking to. I'm just as lost as you are. But that's the thing with us humans. We can still help each other. If we just admit, hey, I'm just as lost as you are. You are no better than I am, and I am no better than you are. We're all in this together. And that builds such a strong connection. And that's what I'm here for. So thank you for listening. Grieve your losses. Throw a party. I'll do the same. See you next week. Thank you for listening.